Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Country Music Hall of Fame Museum's Ford Theater. We're so happy to have you with us today. I'm Paul Kingsbury. I'm on staff here. I'll be your host, or should I say straight man. Regardless, we're in for a treat because we've got comic geniuses Henry Cho and Gary Mule Deer in the house. Yeah. As many of you may know, these two all-star comics are the latest in a grand tradition of comedy at the Grand Ole Opry that dates back almost to the show's origins. We're honored to have them with us today, in part because we currently have a special exhibit on the Opry entitled Country's Grandest Stage, the Opry at 100, which is upstairs, and I hope you'll see it if you haven't caught it yet. Henry and Gary were invited to become members of the Grand Ole Opry in January 2023. We'll talk about how they became members and about how they fit into that Grand Ole Opry tradition of comedy. So country music and comedy have been intertwined since the days of traveling medicine shows back in the 19th and early 20th century. Medicine shows showcased music and comedy as a way of luring small-town customers to buy questionable tonics, elixirs, and potions, many of them mostly alcohol or juiced with opium and cocaine. That's gone away, folks. Doesn't exist. But many pioneering country stars got their start in medicine shows, including Hall of Fame members Jimmie Rodgers, Roy Acuff, Bob Wills, Gene Autry. The Grand Ole Opry began broadcasting, as many of you know, over Nashville's WSM in 1925. And it was only natural that comedy would become a part of this country show. For example, starting in 1926, Uncle Dave Macon, the famous banjo songster who joined the show back then, had worked in medicine shows before, and he was the kind of guy who did everything, so he always sprinkled comedy into his musical act. But by the 1930s, the duo of Sari and Sally joined the Opry. And in real life, they were sisters, Edna Wilson and Margaret Waters, and they performed popular routines portraying small-town gossips. They were the precursors to the great Minnie Pearl, the comic queen of the Grand Ole Opry. From the moment that she joined the show in 1940, she was huge on it until her very last performances in 1991. She became an icon of the Opry, known for her gossip about the fictional hometown of Grinder Switch, Tennessee, and constantly trying in vain to catch handsome fellers. Playing the role of a slow-talking, slow-thinking bumpkin, Rod Brasfield joined the Opry in 1944, and 4 years later, he became her comic partner. So he and Minnie did dual comedy routines on the Opry, and they became a huge hit on NBC's Opry Network segment, and they continued to delight Opry audiences together up until Rod's death in 1958. And during today's program, we'll see a short clip of Minnie and Rod working together. So in my little list here of prominent Opry comedians, I'm going to mention also Benjamin Whitey Ford, another member of the Country Music Hall of Fame, known as the Duke of Paducah. He was an Opry favorite, and he was a seasoned radio comic who also had learned his craft in medicine shows. He joined the Opry in 1942, and he played a pseudo-sophisticated rube who was not as wise as he thought he was, and he dressed in a too tight pea green suit and a too small hat. And he was a fixture on the Opry until the 1950s. Now, move forward to the 70s, and we've got the lovable Jerry Clower, who started out his career as a fertilizer salesman from Yazoo, Mississippi. And he got so good at selling manure that he got on stage to do a little selling. And he became known as the Mouth of Mississippi. He joined the Opry in 1973, released more than 20 albums, and remained a favorite till his death in 1998. And Mike Snyder, many of you probably know, as a Grand Ole Opry star, was a champion old-time banjo player who proved to be as good with a funny story as with his picking. And Mike joined the Opry in 1990, introduced by none other and inducted by none other than Minnie Pearl. So those are just a few of the Opry's many comedy greats over the years. And that brings us to our men of the hour, Henry Cho and Gary Mule Deer. I'll tell you a little bit about each and then we'll bring them out. So Henry hails from Knoxville, the son of immigrants from South Korea who came to the U.S. for college. Henry's dad became a scientist at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, but Henry caught the comic bug early and dropped out of college to do stand-up for a living. I wonder how his parents felt about that. We're going to ask him and find out. But needless to say, it worked, and he worked a lot. Henry's been on many late-night shows, has hosted TV series on NBC and GAC, co-starred in movies. He can be heard regularly on Sirius XM channels for comedy. He has a reputation you may know as Mr. Clean, and that is not a description necessarily of his hygiene, I assume that's okay, but his commitment to family-friendly comedy. Yes. Henry made his Grand Ole Opry debut in 2011, and he's performed on the Opry more than 100 times. Now, Gary Mule Deer. Contrary to popular belief, Gary Mule Deer is not Native American. But he is American. He was born Gary Miller and grew up in South Dakota in the town of Spearfish, which is located, I found out, between Crook City and Jolly Dump. You make of that what you will. Gary and his wife, Nita, still live there. Gary's father had a movie theater in Spearfish where musicians would often play. Gary got into music there too, and he even had a band called Gary Miller and the Vaqueros. He spent some years in various bands out in LA, but soon found he clicked better with comedy. He's performed on TV since the 1970s, has opened for many music artists on tour. There's a terrific documentary on him titled Show Business is My Life, but I can't prove it. That was released in 2023. That was the fateful year that Gary and Henry were both asked to become the first stand-up comedian members of the Opry in decades, and we'll talk about that. Now, without further ado, would you please make welcome Henry Cho and Gary Mule Deer. You got a mic?
Gary's got a mic right here. Oh, that's what I said. That'll help, Hal.
Well, thank you both for being here. We're honored to have you here today to talk about your time on the Opry and your comedy careers. I wanted to know from each of you, I'll start with you, Gary, how did you get started performing on the Opry? How did that happen?
I was on Nashville Now, I think 94, and Roy Acuff saw me and brought me on the Opry. I think that's the first time I did it. I think that was 94.
Okay.
I'm not sure anymore about things. But I'm pretty sure that that's, at this age, it's kind of weird. I think it's 94.
Okay.
I know I had a call the other day. And a guy said, I'm a hacker. I've hacked all your accounts, and I've stolen all your passwords. I said, thank God, what are they?
Henry, how did you get started on the Opry?
Pete Fisher, the former GM, was at some birthday party, and my wife actually was sitting at the same table, and he said, hey, have Henry call me, he needs to do the Opry. And I'd done a couple shows there before, just special events, Minnie Pearl's commemorating one of her birthdays or something. Amy Grant would have me come. And so I finally called Pete Fisher, and I said, what are you talking about? He said, come do a set at the Opry. And I said, man, I don't know about that. So finally I did. And then they asked me to come back, so I always checked the schedule, make sure one of my country music pals was there so I'd know somebody on the bill. And then they started calling me saying, hey, can you do it this date or this date? And I'm like, wow, okay. And then next thing I knew, I'd done it, almost, once or twice a month for years. And Amy Grant was the one who encouraged me to keep doing it. She said, comedy's always been part of the Opry, and it's been missing. You know how to do the Opry, so you need to keep doing it whenever they ask. And as anybody in this town knows, Gaylord and the Opry is the 800-pound gorilla in this town. So I do whatever they ask. That's why I'm here right now.
I'm wondering, with both of you guys, did you have to do anything to adjust your comic act to do it on the Opry, or just do what you do?
I'm lucky. I've never had to do that. I pretty much work like my grandmother's in the front row. I've always done that. I've just always been really not just. I always thought adult humor was never very grown up. That's the way I've always kind of looked at it. That's my way of looking at it. And no, I've never had to adjust anything. It's a couple of things, probably politically incorrect from back in the 80s and 90s that I probably wouldn't do on the Opry anymore. Do you think we should put pictures of missing transvestites on cards of half and half? We can't do that anymore. We don't do things like that on the Opry.
Yeah.
So there's a little slight adjustment.
Yeah. But not really. And I know Henry, both of us. Yeah.
I had to adjust a little bit because I used to date your grandmother, and
You're the one.
she would not approve of some of the things I did. No, the only adjustment I did, I'll never forget early on doing it. I was doing it with a longtime Opry member, and I was always doing a different set as I would show up. And he finally said, man, just, you don't have time. It's not your show. It's not like you can lose them on a joke and get them back. Because trust me, if you came to see my show, you're well aware there's plenty of lulls, okay? But I know I can get you back. So doing a 12, 13-minute set, he goes, your job is to just crush it. He said, little Jimmy Dickens told the same joke verbatim for decades. And so just figure that out. So I figured out what I call the Opry lane. There's a lane I can stay in, and I don't have to try this or that or whatever. I don't have to worry about that the band's heard this 30 times, in 2 years. My job's to go out there and crush it. You don't have time. So that's how I adjusted. I didn't adjust my material. I just adjusted which jokes I told.
Yeah. I try to just put in stuff once in a while for the crew, people backstage, for the most part, whether it's the ushers, whether it's the stage crew, whatever. But pretty much basically the same thing, too. You just want to keep getting in there, hit hard, and just keep it moving.
Well, so when you say you want to do a joke sometime for the crew, what's a joke that works for the crew?
I did one. So my buddy has a daughter who's non-binary, but she's pregnant, and she wants to have a gender reveal party. That's all I got. That one I had the band in the floor.
Mine is, I think, cigarettes and squirrels are a lot alike. Both harmless, unless you stick one in your mouth and try to light it on fire. That's always good for the crew. Right?
So both of you guys played dozens and dozens of years at shows at the Opry over the years, and I'm wondering, tell me about the night that you were asked to join the Opry, and was that a surprise?
Okay, where's Gina? Okay, so Gina there wouldn't be an Opry without her, okay? You'd go there and there'd be no one coming out on stage, okay? Yeah. And also Aubrey now, the big Audrey. They're huge. They're the ones who book us, okay? So I get these emails going, hey, Gary's doing the Opry this weekend. We're going to do a live Facebook thing before. Can you come? And I'm like, yeah, I think I can make it. I'm pretty sure I'm in town. So then it kept going, hey, are you coming? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can make it. So she was trying to surprise us, and I wasn't sure if I could be there. So she was like, I'm going to have to call you and just say, you have to show up. So finally I said, yeah, I can make it. I said, but it's Facebook Live, so I just, what is it, the waist up? And she goes, just dress like you're doing a show. And I said, okay, so I guess it's not waist up. So I show up kind of like this, and Gary's there, and Marty Stewart's there, and we're just kind of doing Facebook stuff, talking about the Opry and all this stuff, and then clear out of the blue.
Boom. Marty says, "Oh, by the way, we'd like to have you guys join us be members of the Opry."
And did he say that backstage or on stage?
No, during the Facebook Live. We
During the
weren't on the
Facebook
Opry
Live
stage. We were backstage doing this Opry Live thing.
Yeah.
And so there's a camera going, and there's a handful of crew there, and I looked at some of the crew people, and I go, "This is a joke. You guys are the
There was
meanest
nothing
people."
on. No, not really. I don't think there was anything on. No.
No.
Just lights.
Yeah.
Camera lights were on. They were acting. They had on their headphones. Looked like it was really official. No, it was not. We were just waiting to get Henry and I.
So how did it hit you guys to be invited to become
Well,
members?
he said no.
I said no.
So I said yes. So officially, I'm the only one to be up here right now. No, we were in shock. So the thing about the Opry, you can have multiple singers on a show, and that's what makes it hard for Gene and the crew about booking us, because you can't have two comedians on a show for some reason. Because I've never figured that out either. But they would never put us on the same show, so there's never going to be a show where they could pull this off on stage.
Yeah.
So then they came up with this Facebook Live thing, and I almost blew it.
Yeah.
Came within hours of blowing it.
It's really hard to explain how important it is to be on the Opry. It's, you hear cliches about things, about families, but this really is, from the minute you got out of your car and you walk to the artist entrance, come inside to see security, you start walking down and see Diana, who takes everything backstage, and your dressing room, and everybody backstage. It's a family, and I can't stress that enough. And you really miss it when you're not there. Seriously, it's just like it's really a big part of your life, and it's so blessed to be able to do it. I had a lot of up and downs in my career. I just finished doing 31 years on the road with Johnny Mathis in the orchestra, which was wonderful. We had to retire Johnny in May. He was 90, and he remembered the lyrics. He remembered this, he remembered certain things, but no short-term memory. So we got out of it, and I didn't realize how much I was going to miss it. I'm still kind of in denial over it, but I've got the Opry. And the Opry is just, I've been doing this almost 70 years, and the Opry is the deal, real deal. Opry is it. I don't know what else to say.
So just to bring home what a powerful, rich history we have of Opry comedy, let's just take a little walk back in time and watch a little clip of Minnie Pearl and Rod Brasfield doing one of their routines.
Listen, I wish you'd have been down home last night.
What happened?
Down at Grandest Switch.
Yeah?
There was a magician feller down there.
A magic.
Yes.
Oh, one of them
Yeah.
You see it, you don't see it.
Yeah. Oh, he had that one act there where he called up volunteers from the
Yeah.
audience. Brother volunteered, but they couldn't use him for that act.
Why not, man?
It was a mind-reading act.
Yeah?
Yeah. They couldn't use brother.
Yeah, because he ain't got...
Well, that's enough.
You know something?
What?
You talking about that magician,
Yeah.
that magician,
Yeah.
that feller that...
Yeah.
Well, sir, it makes me think of that feller that come to Hohenwald not long ago.
He did.
He wasn't only a magician, he was an inventor.
Oh, well, brother's an inventor. My brother, he's invented a liquid that it will dissolve anything. It don't matter what it is.
Sure
That
enough.
liquid brother invented will dissolve it. Just
Yeah.
one trouble about it.
Yeah?
He can't find nothing to keep it in.
Well, if he'd go over here at this jug shop and yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, dissolve.
Rodney, what was it about that inventor you knew? What
He
you knew?
invented a machine, Minnie.
Yeah.
He invented a machine, Minnie. I'm telling you the truth, it was the doggone thing you ever seen. You put $1.50 in it, and you push a button and get a wife.
A wife?
Yeah.
Oh, mercy.
Now, if somebody would just invent a machine where you could put a wife in and get $1.50, they got
I have new hearing aids. I have no idea what they said.
That was your opener. It was good.
What?
I wanted to ask you guys, you had appeared on the Opry many times, and then you got to be members. How much did you know about the Opry and its comedy tradition before you ever appeared there?
Well, I was born and raised in Knoxville, so I knew all about the Opry, heard it on all my neighbors' radios and television and everything else. Not in my house. My parents didn't really, they're into K-pop, but... So I knew about the Opry, and then I bought a farm here in '94, and I still knew about the Opry. I mean, I play a lot of golf, and a lot of my golf buddies are country musicians, and they're all about the Opry, and you hear all about it, and a whole thing, Minnie Pearl being a comedian, I mean, who didn't know that? I mean, anytime anybody had a tag sticking out of any part of clothing, you go, who are you, Minnie Pearl? It's that whole thing. You knew about it. It was there. It's this iconic institution. I think that's why the first time you get asked to ever perform on that stage, it's different than just a normal theater or a normal club or whatever. It's different. And every time I step on that stage, it's still different. Member or no member, it's still different.
Always. It is. He's right. It'll never get old. It'll never get old. I was very lucky. I can't remember dates, but Minnie was on her last year of her life, and she was pretty much bedridden. I had a manager at the time named Steve Small, who was also managing Gary Morris. I think it was the 1974 Artist of the Year with Wind Beneath My Wings. And Steve said, Minnie wants to see you. So we went out there to the place, and Henry met us at the door. I went in and I sat by her bedside, and for about an hour we talked, and she watched everything I'd ever done on that show, or listened to everything I'd ever done. And one of those things that's when it really hit me. It didn't before. I mean, we always got the Opry in South Dakota sporadically. It all depended on, how many bales of hay you were sitting behind or whatever, but it was, it really hit home. And I thought that this is really an important thing, and how she was talking about it, and how young man, you just stay here and you stay with it and you do this.
Well, that was a real honor that she wanted to see you.
I was a young man when I was 60. Yeah, it was really an honor. Wow.
We got clips of each of you performing on the Opry, and I'd like to go ahead and play Henry's clip right now so you guys can see him in action.
Oh.
Born and raised in Knoxville, we were the only Asian people back then. I was the only Asian kid from pre-K till I graduated high school, so I had no idea I was supposed to be smart. I didn't figure out till my first day of college. People sat next to me trying to copy my work. They're like, man, you're not smart. I'm like, I'm sorry, I was born here. You can laugh at that. I know what you're thinking. Wait, I was born here. Exactly. It's great to be here at the Opry. Man, hey, big salute to all y'all that have served and are serving. That's so awesome. Ever since my kids were little, I always told them if you see somebody in uniform to thank them for their service. But they couldn't distinguish between a military uniform and like the FedEx guy. So UPS, they're like, he's wearing shorts. Well, he's a brownie. I don't know. What else can I tell you? I'm married. My wife and I, we have 3 kids. We have 2 boys and a little girl. Buddy of mine had 4 boys. He finally had a girl, and his first thought was, hallelujah, So they named her Hallie. So my daughter's name is Vasectomy. We call her Snippy. So. Be Snippy Cho. Don't cover up your mouth. Don't. You let the laugh out. If you cover it up, it's going to come out somewhere else, and we don't want that happening. Seen it happen. It's not pretty. My boys' names are Jackson and Grant because we knew we were going to fight. Okay, y'all know nothing about U.S. history, do ya? We like you, but we're not going to study. Jackson's my oldest, been driving a while. I want all my kids to learn how to drive a stick shift. So I got him a 2000 F-250 6-speed diesel 4x4. That's right, stick shift, so he can't text and drive. It's a diesel, so he can't sneak out. Pretty smart, right? And I was born here. My wife's a good Southern girl. My wife is from Arab, Alabama. Wow, y'all know about Arab. Well, then you know she's white. It's the whitest town in America. All white people. All the time. Except the day we got married. I had 20 Korean people there. We freaked that town out. We're hanging out the Chevron. You go to Arab, see where you hang out. Some guy walked up and said, "What are y'all doing here?" I said, "We may buy this place." You gonna buy the Chevron? No, the town. I wasn't sure that was going to end. That was good. That was before we started ripping the labels off the water.
What do you guys particularly like about playing the Opry? What makes that a good place to play?
It's the friggin' Grand Ole Opry. That's all you got to say, man. I mean, it's the Opry.
It's a place where people still know how to be an audience. That's the way I look at it. Honest to God, that's how they still know how to be an audience, and that's just something that Henry and I we recognize. Yeah.
So, you guys have both played the Opry a lot. You know people in the cast. Do Opry cast members try to give you jokes? Do they try to say, "Hey, you should..."
Yes, T. Graham Brown, where are you? So T. Graham, he tells jokes during his set all the time, and I love T. Graham's dear friend, but he's always texting me and sending me messages. "Hey, I'm going to try these tonight," and I'm like, "God, they're horrible. Stop." So yes, so T. Graham and I were on the show a few weeks ago, and he did 5 boomerang jokes. Oh God! And I finally just told him, I go, "T. Graham, I don't try to sing. Can you just stop?" But the one good thing about it, when they do jokes on stage, it helps us.
Yeah. Same thing with me. Comes into the dressing room, same thing. I need a new joke. He said, "Just sing, T. Graham. Just sing." Because he's such a sweet guy, but it's just...
Just sing.
Yeah.
You stay in your lane, I'll stay in mine.
Glenn Campbell used to be like that.
Oh,
Glenn Campbell would come up to me and say, You know that joke you do about da-da-da? You have to write that out for me. I'm not getting the same response you do in Branson. You know.
Glenn and I did a show for the International Poetry Society in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So we get in the car at the hotel, go to the venue, and Glenn goes, "Hey, Henry, do you have any chicken jokes?" I go, "No, man, I don't have any chicken jokes." He goes, "I got a couple chicken jokes I thought of. You mind if I tell them?" I said, "Glenn, you should open the show with the chicken jokes." I do my set. Glenn starts telling his chicken jokes, and they're staring at him. He's getting nothing. He looks stage right at me, and I go, "Poetry, not poultry."
Okay.
He goes, "When did you figure that out?" I said, "The second time you asked me about chicken jokes." He goes, "You set me up." I go, "Yeah, sure did. So now maybe you'll just sing."
I remember Glenn coming back. I worked with Roger Miller, one of the smartest people I ever worked with ever. I was with him for 7 years on the road, which is ironic. It's another thing that's great. In 1977, I started working with the late, great Roger Miller. And there was this young guy who was his musical director. His name was Randy Hart. And he's now the assistant music director on the Opry, which is really
Yeah.
cool. that we've
Randy's
come
awesome.
together. Randy is as awesome as it gets. And that's been, but Glenn would come in and you'd tell him a joke, he'd run out, he'd come back in, "Tell me that joke again." Tell him a joke, he'd come back out, 15 minutes later he's back in. "Tell me that joke again." That's when we knew he was starting to slide. But he just told the worst jokes, and he was so good singing and playing. You know, I wish I could sing like T. Graham and play the guitar like Glenn. No, I don't.
No.
No, I don't.
To answer your question, yes, they try to give us material.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, Gary, since you brought it up. I mean, those who have ever seen Roger Miller on TV or saw him live know what an incredible wit that guy was. What was he like to work with? And did he give you jokes?
He was amazing. He was just never, the show was never the same. I only missed one show in my life. I was working with Roger Miller at the Silverbird in Las Vegas. This is my days of Peruvian marching powder, and I'd been up. That's when I used to go to bed Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and take a nap on Sunday, okay? And I had been up for maybe 2 days. I went upstairs to change into my show outfit. The next thing I know, there's pounding on the door. It's security. I look over at the clock. It's 25 after 8. I was supposed to be on 8 minutes ago. 25 minutes ago. I jump up, grab my stuff, run down through this casino, down through the hotel, through the casino, up to the dressing room. Get to the edge of the stage. Roger comes off, hands me my guitar and my hat and my jacket. Said, "You did great, kid." He went out and did me.
Oh, my.
And saved me for my 30-minute show. He went out and did that. That's what he could do, things like that. But Roger was just, one thing about Roger, I remember, I'll just say one thing quick about Roger. One time after, we had a green room meet after the show. So Roger was late. Roger comes in, he's got a can of Coke. He puts it up on his forehead, he tips it up, it dribbles all the way down his face and all over his clothes. He looks at it and he says, "God, I thought I was taller than this." I mean, he would walk up to a thermostat and go, "Jesus, I lost 30 pounds. I mean, he never stopped, but he was just brilliant, brilliant. There's just, 2 or 3 people I know that are just all the time. To me, Roger was the guy, yeah.
Both of you have opened for music acts over the years. You've met many people, obviously, at the Opry. Are there any country stars or music artists in general you've forged really close relationships with?
No. No, I'm kidding. Yes. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's my golf buddies. We all play golf. I mean, you have to understand, we work at night, okay? And as comedians, we have 23 hours a day to kill. And musicians have 20 because they have a sound check. But so, yeah, I mean, we both played in Vince Gill's golf tournament for every year, 27 years, right?
Yeah.
Elaine's here from the Vinny right there.
Yeah.
And, the Millers are here. That's where we met them. And
Right there.
yeah. So, and Gary and I, we knew each other. We met decades ago, but we never got to hang, really. No. He was a Comedy Store guy. I was an improv guy.
Out in L.A.
And he was, he would sleep for 3 days and be up for 1. So we didn't cross paths that much. But then we started doing these golf tournaments, and we were around each other all the time. So now you're together, 3-4 days a week, and you're spending all the time together. And then, we'd always get pushed into doing shows.
Yeah.
So we were always performing together, that kind of stuff. So to answer your question, yes, if you are a country music or any kind of musician in this town and you play golf, I have your number in my phone, and has nothing to do with life. It's only about golf.
Yeah.
Right?
My first celebrity golf tournament was the Roy Clark Invitational. Did it in Tulsa, I think, or something like that. I'd been playing. When I came out of rehab, I needed a new addiction. I took up golf, and that's when somebody came up to me and said, "Do you ever do a celebrity golf tournament?" I had no idea what they were talking about. And they said, "Well, we're going to do Roy Clark's thing. You'll do 10 minutes the night before, and you're going to play golf." And that's what we did forever. That's when I started meeting all my heroes. When I started meeting people, I've been a Yankee fan for over 70 years. I'm meeting people like Joe DiMaggio and Yogi Berra and Whitey Ford and people like that. And God, I think about it, Bob Cousy and John Havlicek.
God,
I remember
you are old.
Yes, old, really old. Any people remember these? People remember any of these people? My first time playing the LPGA, the Kraft Nabisco Golf Tournament, I get a call from Terry Wilcox, and he said, "You're going off at 10:30, your practice round. You're going off with Joe DiMaggio, Johnny Unitas, and John Havlicek. Is that all right?" Wow. My drive went from here to that monitor. But we got to meet Vinny.
Oh.
Vinny, all the golf. Yeah, you meet all your people.
Hilton Head, we met everybody there.
Yeah.
Neil Armstrong.
Yeah.
People ask me who the most famous person you ever played golf with. I go, Neil Armstrong.
Yeah.
Okay. I think conversation's over.
I was on a golf cart with Johnny Paycheck down in Tulsa. I hit a ball in the rough, which I do often, and I went over there and he grabbed me and says, "We don't go in there, there's things in there without shoulders." And I've never forgotten that. So I don't go into there when there's things without shoulders. I stay out of the rough. Yeah.
So now I'm going to take you guys back in time and ask each of you, when you were younger, what gave you the idea that you could be a professional comedian? Henry?
Watching guys like this on stage. That's what did it. So I never hung out in comedy clubs, but I loved comedy, and I'd watch guys on TV. Seinfeld, Leno, and I'd watch Mule Deer with his chicken with a cigarette, and he'd hit it with a plastic bow and arrow, and just going, okay, I'm not going to do that. But so I was a fan of comedy, and then I was in college because I was supposed to be a doctor. That's a loud laugh, yeah? I was supposed to be a doctor, play the cello. Those are my two choices. And but I grew up, I was born here. That segment said, I was born here. So it's my parents' fault. They could have stayed in Korea and maybe I would have done what they wanted. But I was born here. So I grew up thinking about girls, sports, and then school. And school's easy to me because I'm Korean. Math, whatever. I made straight A's, not even trying. And then I got in college and I didn't try and I still made A's. And I'm like, okay, but I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm not going to be in school for 7 years. So then I was in for 6 in undergrad. So I was close to graduating, but I told my buddies I'm going to try stand-up. So I went down Funny Bone Comedy Club on a Monday night. I entered a competition. I thought it was 12 amateurs. It wasn't. It was 11 comedians and me. And I won. And they hired me. And I started working on Wednesday. And I dropped out of college on Friday. And that was 40 years ago. That's how it started.
I wanted a job where I could sleep late.
But you started out as a musician, right?
Yeah, it started out as, well, yeah, I did. I tried to, I was a 7-year freshman in college. I had 33 incompletes and an A in archery.
You are a good archer. You are good at that.
Good archer. Anyway, I tried every kind of job in the world, and I just noticed that guy playing the guitar get just as many girls as the quarterback and didn't get beat up over it. I thought, you know what? I'm going to get a guitar. And I did, and I started playing music, and I really wasn't very good when I got my first night, my first job. There's this thing out on, I've got a thing out of a film called Show Business Is My Life, but I can't prove it. And it talks about my first night in the business. And I wasn't really prepared. And I made a mistake in my first song. And all 8 people in the audience who had been ignoring me up to that point stopped what they were doing and looked at me, so I told a joke. They laughed and went back to talking, and I did another song, made another mistake. They stopped, looked at me, and did another joke. That's kind of how I got into it. But I got into comedy. My comedian heroes, I grew up with radio. We had no TV in South Dakota until 57, 58. So Jack Benny, Eve Arden, people like that, they were my influences, especially Jack Benny. Jack Benny's got to be the guy for me. Yeah. Remember Jack? All right, that's good. Yeah, and I'm just blessed that I can keep it going like this. And the Opry has enabled me to do that. I'm going through some really serious health issues right now, but I've got angels down here that take care of me and allow me to do the Opry and to be here, and I've got to be at Vanderbilt, and I got 3 of them sitting in the front row here right now that take care of me and do everything for me. 4 of them here, actually. And that's what keeps me going. It's the best medicine there is. I go through whatever kind of medicine at Vanderbilt, but what I tell you, when I get out on that Opry stage, get that first laugh, that's when I start to feel better. That's it.
That's it, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Henry, you know, when you dropped out of college and you went into stand-up, what kind of reaction or support did you get from your family at that time, your parents? How did they feel about it?
What do you think? Yeah. My mom was actually fine because I was born here. And she knew that. I was going to play baseball. That was my whole thing. And I got injured my senior year. I was actually never going to make it, but it was a good dream. And I was a good baseball player, so that's all I thought about. Ate, drank, slept, and then I'm in college spinning my wheels. You know, I had 5 majors in 6 years. I actually got to be a senior, though, not a freshman the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah, big accomplishment.
That's cool.
Didn't graduate, but still. So my dad was the problem. My dad came over here, didn't speak English, 18 years old, got to go to Warren Wilson Junior College. Nowadays he'd go to Harvard, but back then it was Warren Junior College. And a guy named Dr. Henry Jensen was his sponsor. That's who I was named after. And so my dad had to listen, and my mom also, they had to listen to lectures 8, 9, 10 times. They record them, have to listen to them that many times to understand one lecture. And I always told him, and 1 generation later, I was cutting class. He got so mad. So yeah, he had a hard time with it. But finally, he saw me on TV. It'd probably been a year and a half. I did a thing on Showtime, and I went by the house, and he goes, "You on television?" I said, "Yeah." And he just goes, "Oh."
That's what changes everything.
That was it, everything.
TV, the first time you're on. I changed my name in I can't remember, something in the 1900s. My name was Miller. I changed it to Mule Deer. No, Roger Mule Deer changed his to Miller. I don't know. Anyway, my mom was freaked out about it and really would not really want to talk to me on the telephone because I changed my name to Gary Mule Deer. And then you did my first Tonight Show. And after that, everything was just fine.
After that, she goes, "I'm Mrs. Mule Deer."
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Where did the Mule Deer come from?
I was in a group called Bandana, and I was old enough to drive the bus. Excuse me. And every time we go through places like, "Thank you very much. Can I keep the glass?"
Yes, it's a set. There's 3. You only have 2 friends. You're good.
I was in a group, and I was the only one old enough to drive the bus, and driving through Utah and driving through different places. It actually wasn't a bus. It was a checker limousine, like a checker cab, but it had 5 seat rows in it, and it was a Chrysler V8 in it, and 3 on the 3 3-speed, 3 on the tree. Yeah, and I would stop in the middle of the night and spotlight. I was Spotlight Mule Deer, going through Utah, going through Nevada, going through Montana, wherever. And the bass player, Sherman Hayes, who later became Waylon Jennings, bass player, for a while until I heard one night up in Oregon he wouldn't come out of a tree, so they left him. And that's another story. Anyway, Sherman started calling me Mule Deer, and it just kind of stuck. So in I think it was probably about 1969 or 70, chemically enhanced, I went to a courthouse in Santa Monica and changed my name from Miller to Mule Deer. And that's where it came from. And I wish I had a better story, but that's all I got.
Well, how about we now go to watching a clip of you on the Opry, Gary. Let's fire that one up.
Gary Miller, everybody.
My grandpa used to say, listen, if we all liked the same things, everybody'd be after your grandma. I say that? Grandpa used to say some weird things. One time I said, Grandpa, what's the quickest way to get to the lake? He said, you walking or driving? I said, I'm driving. He said, that's the quickest. I make fun of Grandpa. Actually, he was really successful. He was a veterinarian and a taxidermist. I remember the sign said, no matter what happens, you'll get your dog back. You guys been drinking? Yeah, okay. I used to drink and drive. That's not as popular as it used to be. Last time I got stopped, the highway patrolman said, you were going 90 miles an hour. I said, I haven't been out an hour. He said, can I see your license? I said, can I shoot your gun? Don't ever say that, no. He said, all right, I want to see your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance. Must have gone through that glove compartment for 20 minutes till I realized I was sitting in the front seat of his car. I blew in their breathalyzer, readout came back, said, one at a time, please. I forgot, my grandmother was really something. One time I said, Grandma, have you seen a little pill bottle lying around here and on the label in big letters it says LSD? And she said, well, no, I haven't. And then she said, did you see that dragon in the kitchen? One time I said to Grandpa, are you very political? Grandpa said, I have one thing to say about politics. All politicians should serve just 2 terms. One in office and one in prison. Whoa! Oh! Good God! Wow, a political audience. All right. Something from a Walt Disney film with political overtones. Super frantic, unproductive, nothing legislation. Want to change our congressman, provide some lubrication. CEOs cannot complain of overregulation. Voters get what you deserve, great procrastination. From super PACs of unproductive, nothing legislation. Oh yeah. Hey, hey. So this senator goes to this Indian reservation and he walks right up to the chief and he says, you have any problems here? Chief said, we have 3. The senator said, what's your first problem? The chief said, well, we got this mine up here above the village and everything's come down into, the tailings have ruined all of our water. We've had to truck it in for 2 years. Really expensive. Senator whips out his phone, walks off a couple of feet, yells into his phone for a couple of minutes, comes back, puts his phone away and says, in about 2 weeks, you're gonna have 5 wells drilled. What's your next problem? The guy said, well, we got this medical facility and we don't have any doctors. Senator walks off, whips out his smartphone, yells into it for a couple minutes, comes back, puts his phone away, and he says to the chief, okay, in about 2 weeks, you're going to have 2 medical doctors, and in about 3 months, you'll have a fully staffed medical facility. He said, and what's your third problem? Chief said, no cell service. Somebody said to me a couple of months ago, they said, do you have a landline? I said, yeah. They said, well, do you have a cell phone? I said, yeah. I said, what do you need a landline for? I said, I need it to call my cell phone when I can't find it. 90-year-old Harriet calls 92-year-old Harvey and says, Harvey, you driving on Interstate 90? He said, yep. She said, for God's sake, be careful. There's some idiot out there in a car driving the wrong way. Harvey said, one guy, hell, there's hundreds.
I don't recognize that guitar. I swear to God, where did that guitar come from?
That's what he kept saying up here. Where'd I get that guitar?
I've seen that guitar before.
Maybe you forgot yours and you had to borrow one or something.
Maybe I did.
Yeah.
So, Gary, I'm wondering, how did you, and I'm going to ask you this, Henry, too, but how did you develop your particular approach to comedy? Because you got your own style, and how did you find that?
You know, this sounds kind of crazy, but Henry gets this too. People come up with this guys come up or whoever and want to get into comedy, and they say, "Can you give me any tips?" You know, things like that. And I always say, "Yeah, pretty lady at the Fifth at Pimlico." No, but that's a joke. That's a tip. That's a racehorse tip. No,
Man of War.
I just say, don't say anything unless it's funny. That's kind of the way it's always been with me. I know working at the Comedy Store, guys are always coming up and trying out material. And I just always never thought about that. I thought it was something funny, I was going to say it. And I never did use it as a, as a workshop, something like that. To me, I've got two things about comedy. If people want to say, well, give me a couple of tips. Always wear something on stage you don't wear anywhere else. And don't say anything unless it's funny. That's what I do. And that's kind of been my mantra. And so far, so good.
Henry, how about you?
I've said plenty on stage that wasn't funny. No, I'm the same way. If I wrote it and I'm taking the time to say it, it's funny. Doesn't always work, but to me, it's funny. And that's all that really matters. I mean, I have, so I'm going to do another special this year because I do one every 20 years. I do one. So part of the special is going to be a segment that I'm calling Jokes That Never Worked. And they didn't work. They should have. Yeah. Simple things like, y'all remember Hooked on Phonics? It should have been Hooked on Pahonic. Still doesn't work.
I've got
something like that. I mean, right?
I've got jokes like that. Penguin walks into a bar, said, I'm looking for my brother. Bartender says, okay, what does he look like?
Yeah. They never work, although yours did somehow. I should explain phonetically what my joke was beforehand.
Guy walks.
Younger people there was a thing called phonics. So they wanted you to read phonetically. So it's not phonics, it's Pahonic. Got a whole section of them.
I've got one that never works. I love it. A guy walks into a restaurant with a trout under his arm, and he says to the hostess, excuse me, do you make fish cakes? She said, yes, we do. And he said, oh, good, it's his birthday.
Great joke. Great joke.
Funny.
I know. They don't work, though.
It's working here.
It works here.
Why is it working here?
I don't know. Got to rewrite it. So, yeah. So, my style, I've always been clean. Gary, too. It's just, but yeah. So 40 years, been doing, it's adult humor, it's just clean. If you get upset that I call my daughter vasectomy, get over it, okay? But people do. They'll go, I thought you were clean. You said vasectomy. That's a clean word. So, but my style's always been what it is. And I came up in an era where it was pre-Homer Simpson, because my wife doesn't mow my yard. My wife, we're equal. She's not smarter than me. I'm not stupid. It's a whole different era that I grew up in and how I write. And these comedians today who are my good friends, they're a couple, 10, 15 years after me, they don't know how I write. They've even asked me, how do you write that? I mean, I don't get a laugh if I don't make fun of myself. And I go, well, I make fun of myself, but in a different way. I just don't make myself Homer Simpson. Yeah. And they're like, how do you do that? And I go, it's just how I do it. I mean, sorry. My wife and I have different roles, and we're equal, but we're not the same. And she knows that, and I know that, and I'll never forget. So I moved here to Nashville with my wife. We came back from LA 20 years ago, so we go to church on Sunday. Just visited this church. The next Saturday, I do a show here in town. 5 couples come to my show. I don't know these people, 5 couples from this church. So the next Sunday, we go see that church again. These 5 women walked up to my wife and said, we're so sorry. We can't believe the way he talks about you. And my wife's like, what? The way he talked about you, we couldn't believe it. And she's like, they're jokes. He's a comedian. It pays the bills. And they're like, our husband's going to go talk to him. And my wife went, I'd pay to see that.
I've been fortunate to bridge the gap, which I love. I'll have kids come up and say, we never saw mom laugh before like that, or dad, or the parents will say, we never laughed with our kids before. Because what the kids think's funny now is the parents don't like, and what the parents think's funny, the kids usually don't like. For some reason, I managed to bridge that gap in there. I did 168 cruises for Royal Caribbean, believe it or not. I mean, and families, all families. And I remember one night I'm on the computer trying to get back to my wife somewhere in the middle of the Caribbean. And it was dress-up night, and 3 little 10-year-old boys walk up to me. And they're standing there patiently, and I look over, and I say, yes. And he said, Mr. Mule Deer, we want you to know that you're the funniest person we've ever heard in our whole lives. They were 10.
Wow. That's awesome.
Stuff like that sticks. But I mean, that's just...
Funny's funny.
We know. What's
right?
funny is funny, and what isn't is isn't, and you can't go out and open with bad stuff. I mean, I've had 2 or 3 friends that I've come up with that have become big names. And when they were starting out, they were very clean. And I won't mention George Lopez, but I mentioned him. And when they suddenly became big, they started getting blue.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, Robin did that. There's just different people that once they did, it all changed. And I've never understood that.
And so I'm interested with both of you guys. You know, I'll start with you, Gary. When did you make your commitment that you were going to do family-type humor? You weren't going to go blue. How early did you decide that?
I never thought any different, thank God. Up here, I don't think that way. So that's with me. That's what keeps me okay. And I don't think, well, I got to do this for this amount of people. I got to do it this way for another amount of people. I just think that way, and I'm blessed that I do. And that works that way for me. Yeah.
My act has always reflected my life. So family friendly, yeah, that you can say that. It's been used before at my shows. That just means that your kids can come and they're not going to walk out hearing something they shouldn't hear. But, you know, hopefully I'm more cerebral than an 8-year-old. Hopefully. So it's adult humor. So, but it's always reflected my act. So when I was young and single, all my jokes were trying to impress the young ladies in the crowd. That's all it was. And now that I'm a family, as soon as I had kids, it changed. As soon as I got married, it changed. I mean, I had a whole killer section of being single that just went away. And every comedian says you get married, you get a new 15 minutes. Well, I got like 3.
Yeah.
It wasn't an equal trade-off, I can tell you that. So my whole act had to change and evolve. And then once I had kids, I made certain that I wasn't going to do anything that my kids couldn't hear. But from day one, I was never dirty. I always was clean, and I didn't have, it's just who I was. I mean, you know, I don't cuss a ton in real life. Why am I going to do it on stage? So.
Yeah, good. That's right. I don't have anything that I just, like I told you earlier, I always kind of do the show like my grandmother's in the front row. I've just always been that way no matter what. And I worked with everybody, when going out with a partner from 70 to 75, Mule Deer and Moondog. We worked for Sly and the Family Stone. We worked for the Guess Who, the Doobie Brothers. I mean, people were going out. I'm hoping for rock and roll bands, and that's where you really start to get your act together. You've got to, because you're not getting any billing. You're walking out there. They're waiting for the main act to come on.
Are those tough audiences?
Yeah, and tough audiences. But people at that time were still reading, and they still knew history.
Still reading, you said?
They were reading, and they knew history, and it was a whole different thing. And I miss that part of being able to do things like that, because I used to have a lot of historical material, but I don't anymore.
You used to be able to do that. You used to be, hey, did you hear about this or hear about that?
Yeah, yeah.
And they did, and now that's gone.
Can't do it now. You got to be careful. I mean, I do a couple of things in my act about news, but it's just like, it's like Grandpa said. Grandpa saying it, not me. All politicians should serve just 2 terms, 1 in office, 1 in prison. It's never been me saying it. I don't want to do that. Leave that to somebody else to say it. Yeah.
Yeah, rock and roll acts are tough.
Yeah.
I opened for Bon Jovi back in the mid-'80s. He was doing a show in Knoxville, and the opening band, they went whitewater rafting, and the bass player broke his wrist. And the promoter's wife saw me at the mall that day and called. And he goes, hey, I know you're in town, because I was trying to say no. And I still said no, and then he tripled the price to open for Bon Jovi. So I was, going to get like $30. And so I went down there, and it was nuts. I mean, nuts. So I just went, you guys ready to rock and roll? Yeah? Yeah? I did that for 2 minutes. And I go, thank you. And I walked off, and they went, perfect. And afterwards, people were coming up to me going, man, you were hilarious. I mean,
yeah. My partner and I were out with the Doobie Brothers, and we were starting out with them when their album first hit. We were playing like 2,000 people, then 5,000, 10,000, 20. Ended up, we're at Ohio State University, 40,000 people out there. We walk out with no billing, and before anything happens, a beer can bounces off my mic stand, and a wine bottle shoots back and hits my partner's piano and knocks off. He walks over and says, we're the Mule Deer and Moondog Medicine Show. Thank you and good night. We walked off. Producer said, perfect.
Yeah.
And that's
Just
what you have
time.
to do, yeah. And then he took us off and added the Beach Boys. But I mean, that's what it was. And you learn things like that. But
It toughens you up, I guess.
Yeah,
I remember I got out of clubs. I did clubs for 30 years. Never did stand up and nobody noticed. I was a headliner. I was a prop guy, comedian, guitar, props, I wasn't a stand-up comedian. But in '94, I thought I got to get out because I was not having control over the acts going on in front of me.
Right.
I couldn't get it controlled, the MC, I couldn't control the middle act. They would turn it blue. It would take me 15 minutes of my show just to get them back and get their heads back around to what I needed to have them do to listen to me. And just after a while, it's like, you know what, I don't need to do this anymore. And so, where was I?
So you got out of the comedy clubs because you couldn't control your openers and the material, because that is the hardest thing as a clean comedian, and you're out promoting your shows, and your audience knows it's clean, then they come and the first guy up is talking about something you would never want to say in front of anyone, let alone, who's in the crowd. And then it poisons the crowd. And a lot of guys who have toured with me in the past several years, they're clean and they're headlining now, because that's the whole process. They're running into that, and they're like, man, I just had a guy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, you got to fight through that. Just keep fighting through it until you can command and demand who's going to go up in front of you. And that's what I've been able to do for decades. I take my guys with me, and because I don't want somebody who can work clean. Because if you say you can work clean, that means that you're not clean. Just that you can do it, which means you'll slip up eventually.
I used to have friends that are not very clean, and they've been in comedy forever, and they say, I'd like to do the Opry. I said, you can't do the Opry. He said, well, I can change and be clean. I said, no, you can't. You can't do that. That's not the way you think. That's not the way you ride. You can't go on. I saw guys in ships try to do that same kind of thing. They'd come on, and they would last at one cruise because they would take their club act and try to make it clean. Then going the other way around, they would have a X-rated night, and they would take some guy that was clean would try to be blue, and it was really, both were just, they both sucked. Yeah, it didn't work, no.
Gary, how did you determine you wanted to have props as part of your act? Where did that come in?
I always liked to work with props. It just was always fun with me to do it. My partner and I, Moondog, even before that, I always had props. Now I only have props of what I can carry in my pockets. I used to have 30 pounds or 40 pounds of stuff. I had a trash can out there, I had a bus tub, I had a toy horse, I had a Marlboro outfit, I had a Jaws outfit, I had
You had
rubber
a trunk.
chickens.
Didn't you have a trunk?
I have a trunk.
Yeah, it was a trunk. And then they
Trunk full
started
of
charging for baggage.
Yeah, two things I was known for mostly in the 70s and 80s and 90s was put a typewriter on my shoulder and tap it like the sound of a, like it used to sound with a
The news ticker.
newscast. Yeah, and do the news. And then also I take and it's rubber chickens, and I tape a rubber chicken to the microphone, put a blindfold on it, put a lit cigarette in its mouth, walk off 20 feet, and using the E string off my guitar, shooting a rubber-tipped arrow, and shoot the cigarette out of the chicken's mouth. That's what I did.
That's what I remember.
Yeah, exactly. And
Because I was going, man, who is this
I still
guy?
do it. I still do it when I do my own long show. But I mean, I just like to do props. I have a prop, a thing in my show. When I used to do TV, they say, you need anything special? I said, get me a door. I said, what? I said, just get me a door and put it up there. And so that was, there's no doors here, is there? No. I would show you what it is, but there's no doors. I would just say, here's a quick impression. Exciting scene from Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. I would walk off, I would knock on the door, nothing happened. I'd knock again, nothing happens. I'd knock again, I'd look out the audience, go, did she move? Come back, and that was it. But I love stuff like that. It's my favorite thing to do.
They'd have to go find you a door, which was the greatest part of the whole thing to me. What do you need? I need a door.
Yeah. I think I'm going to ask for a door on the Opry. What do you think?
You know what? You should do that next time.
I think I will. I'm going to ask for a
Make
door.
Make Dan get you a door.
Yeah. You got Dan over there. Dan's the guy, he can make that happen.
Get a door.
So I want to know, I mean, both of you guys are naturally funny, you're quick-witted, but do you actually Henry, do you take time out and say, okay, I'm going to work on some new routines?
I write. So mine's in spurts.
What's your process?
So some comedians are sit-down writers. They treat it like a job. Jerry Seinfeld, back in the day of telephones and you'd unplug it, he would write from 10 a.m. to noon and then plug his phone in. Then a bunch of comedians meet at Jerry's famous deli in L.A., couple hours throwing stuff around, and then he'd go back and write from 2 to 4. So you knew not to bother him. And a couple other guys, Larry Miller was like that.
Yeah.
Guys like that. I'm more of a always kind of writing kind of guy. And back in the day, I'd write it on napkins and whatever I can find. Now I text myself or voice memo myself. Because if I think of something, I write backwards. So I'll think of, or something will happen, I'll see something, somebody will say something, or I think of it. And there it is. And so here's the joke. And then how do I get here? So that's kind of how I do my process. So my tour is called the Empty Nest Tour. So finally I can write like I used to. I used to write all the time, every day. But when you have kids, it's different, They'd come running in the office. My wife would call, hey, you got to go get this or whatever. And it'd interrupt the thought process. And when you're in this zone, you can't be disturbed. So since my daughter's been gone to college, last year and a half, I've been able to crank out. So, I started 2025 I walked out on stage in Jacksonville with 45 minutes I'd never done before. And I walked out this year, 60 minutes I've never done before. So I'm combining this hour and 45 minutes that I've written in the last 18 months into the special. So that is how I write. And I write when I have time, which is my time off is from the week before Thanksgiving till like the second week of January. So those 5-6 weeks, I just crank it out. And then I run down to Zany's and do the lab and do 10 minutes there. I always do Tullahoma and Crossville are my first 2 shows of the year at the theaters. for decades.
And why is that?
It's not, these are just towns that we pack the house. And this is Americana. And these are jokes I've never done before, and the crowd knows what to expect. My opener goes up there and kills because they do straight 25. And I go out there and do like an hour and a half, and half of it's me sitting on a stool looking at my book, trying to figure these jokes out. And they know when they come. And then I always take requests so they can hear jokes they want to hear that are polished and actually funny.
I've got everything written on my guitar. The top of my guitar is just ridiculous. It's just covered with notes and things. But I've always been able to do things, and a lot of stuff I wrote. Steve Martin and I started writing together. We were partners, and we had to act for a short time in the late 60s, but we were also roommates. Steve and I and a great singer named Michael Johnson, who's now passed on. But we wrote a lot of stuff that I still do today. There's still things I can do today that they're timeless. I don't know what it is about my material or what it is, if it's my timing, whatever it is, but I've got things that, my first joke I wrote in 1959, 58, which is 3 snails molest a tortoise. Officer arrives to make out the report. He says, all right, I want you to tell me exactly what happened. The tortoise said, well, everything happened so fast. And that joke has been with me for that long. Things like that. But I've just been able to I put in things once in a while for people backstage, for the musicians, whatever it is. I try to do that as much as I can. Basically, my act, I'm going to go out and have to do 75 minutes at a casino coming up next month, and I'm terrified because I've not really prepared I haven't been really doing that long for a long time.
You need 2 guitars. Just fill them up.
I do.
And then flip it around.
Put extra guitars out there.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, I got extra guitars, and I still do music. My music was really good finally when I was 8 years old, about 6 years ago, or 5, whatever. I was doing really well singing and playing. Now it's not as good as it was, but I've always had music in my show, and that was always been a big part of it. I've always done half and half. I've always never been a stand-up. I've always been like a funny
variety
musician.
act.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, you're an entertainer, dude. That's what
I'm an
you are.
entertainer.
You're
That's
an
it.
entertainer.
Yeah. I'm an entertainer.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I am. Yeah.
I am curious though, so Henry talked about his process of how he just sits down and writes. Now, he may be spontaneously inspired and capture something in his phone. I mean, do you block out time to write? How does your process work?
You talking to me?
You, Gary, sorry.
I don't block anything out. If I think of something, I put a sticky note on something or a napkin or write on something, it's my arm, whatever it is, and try an idea, just a word or two, just to try to come up with something new to do on the weekend. I mean, just to do at the Opry again mainly right now, it's just for everybody that works out there that see me do a lot of the same things over and over. I've got probably an hour and a half of material, but I just don't know where some of it went to.
Now, when I say I sit down and write, it's not just I'm sitting down creating from the ether. I'm sitting down with these notes and voice memos that I've accumulated through this time, and I haven't had time to flesh out. That's the process of that.
Yeah.
Now, you guys, of course, have wonderful audiences at the Opry who are very understanding. You've talked about that a little bit, but both of you must have run into in your time as comedians, hecklers. How have you dealt in the past with people who might heckle you on stage?
I've been lucky. I've never really had any hecklers. I think I've had 2.
He has a bow and arrow up there.
I've had 2 hecklers, I think. I had one at the Opry once, and I think I used to have a heckler line that I couldn't wait to use, but nobody ever heckled me. It was, when you use those microwaves, you have to keep the door shut. But I never got to use it except once. And then I had one on the Opry one night. It wasn't really a heckle. Some lady just yelled out, "Woo!" or something, and I just said, when you use with a Q-tip, when you hit resistance, you got to stop. And that's all I said, which wasn't really nice, but it was. But I don't really have. Do you have hecklers?
Not anymore. I mean, back in the day, I did them all. You know, I did chicken wire gigs.
Yeah.
I did the Chitlin tour, which is all African American tour. Shows start at 2, they say. It's more like 3:30 when they show up. So yeah, there were hecklers back in the day, but I learned how to handle those, and I actually would welcome it occasionally.
Do you remember any lines that you had to come back with?
Yeah, but you know, it's just the hardest heckler, sorry ladies, is a drunk female. Because number one, you're all hard to handle. And then you're drunk. And you can only be so mean to a female before the audience turns on you.
That's right.
No matter how drunk she is. So if it's a drunk female, you really got to kind of tiptoe around it and get there and finally just get her thrown out. Because you can't argue with a drunk female. It's hard enough with a straight, sober female. So when they're intoxicated, it's almost impossible. It really is. Now a guy, yeah, bring it on. If there's some loser guy going to try, you know, basically I just go, look, I'm a professional and I have a microphone and you don't.
Yeah.
And there's a reason you're sitting out there.
Yeah. Sometimes if they're loud, maybe they're not heckling you, they're just loud. I just go, Mom, no.
There you
Stuff
go.
like that. I mean, that's the kind
Larry Miller had a great one. Larry Miller, comedian, I don't know, Seinfeld's best friend. He was getting heckled at Cobb's in San Francisco, and I'd finished doing the Embarcadero.
Yeah.
And so they're like, San Francisco used to have 12 comedy clubs, and Cobb's always had the latest show. So all the comedians would run down to Cobb's as soon as you can, down on the wharf. So we're down there. There's like 10 of us in the backstage. Some guy's heckling Larry, and Larry just goes, hey. Let me let you understand something. I'm funny. You're not. Yeah. So quit it. And 10 of us in the back were like going, that's great, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was it. The guy quit it right then.
Yeah, keeping audiences down. It was interesting to do when I was with my partner, 70 to 75. We had a really interesting show, and opening for rock and roll acts that were really actually to get their attention. It would take 10, 15 minutes out of our 25 or 30 just to get them turned around to us, but you learn certain things. And I guess about 2 months ago, I did a show in San Francisco. There was a Johnny Cash tribute show. And I went out, and there were some guys still talking, and there's about 150 guys out there, and actually there was a couple hundred sitting out there. There's a private club in San Francisco, and they're talking, so I just started going, you know, I'm not going to start until, and then they were still talking, I'm not going to start until, I would say the same thing 2 or 3 times, so finally they stopped, because I was saying the same thing over, and then they finally stopped. And I could say, okay, now we can go. That's how I got them to shut up. That's that's how you do it. One of the things you have to do. If somebody's going to make a lot of noise, you don't want to pick on somebody. Like you said, you just don't want to do that. I remember doing shows where if there'd be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 people, you got a couple of people in the front that are drunk and they're making noise. You don't want to pick on them because maybe the people around them are telling them to shut up. But there's another 4,000 or 5,000 out there that have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
And you do not want to do that. You do not want to just zero in and do that.
No, it has to be like a comedy club, small room.
Exactly.
Heckler, everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, I did not get a ton of hecklers, but when I did, it was always fun.
So Gary, you've mentioned how much you enjoy, mixing music into your act, and I think you've made no secret over the years how much you've enjoyed the music of Johnny Cash and enjoy playing it. Did you ever open for Johnny Cash, work with Johnny Cash?
No, but I missed him by this far.
Yeah, I was standing in between them.
Yeah. I was doing something called Fanfare, which was, I don't know what it's called now. It was Fanfare at one time.
It's called CMA
Fest.
CMA Fest.
So myself and another lady that was on a video show on TNN, we were the hosts one day. And anyway, Johnny Cash was going to be on the show, and I wrote a tribute to him. I still do it in my show. Tribute to Johnny Cash, and it has 62 of his song titles in it. And Johnny loved it, and so I was finally going to get to meet him. So a friend of mine got it to June got it to Johnny. So he said, I'm going to meet him that day. So I got stuck in traffic trying to get to the fanfare, get down to the stage. I'm running through as fast as I can. He'd had a bad experience with the sound guys. He was mad. He came off stage, came running around to the bus. I'm running down just as I get there. He's from me to you almost. And June steps in and says, not now, not now. And grabs me like this and goes, you remind me so much of Johnny when you were young, when he was young. And grabbed me like this on my face. But I miss Johnny about this far. Yeah. But I still do his music. I've been doing his music since the 50s, yeah. I was in 1956, the first year I ran away from home. I ended up being a busboy in Yellowstone Park. And on my day off, there's a guy that had a big Gretsch guitar. His name was Bill Bozarth. He was from Ponca City, Oklahoma. We went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. We went to the Wart Hotel, to the Silver Dollar Bar. He had a stage. He could play Big River. I could sing it. We did it 3 times that day. We got food and drinks. And that night coming back, I thought to myself, he had a Cadillac convertible. We're driving back through Yellowstone Park, all the way from the west entrance to the east entrance that night at 3 in the morning. Can you imagine what it would be like in the 50s in Yellowstone when it was just so pristine then? The top down, and I'm thinking to myself, I got to do this. This is something I want to do. I just got to figure out how to do it. And it took me 2 or 3 years to figure out how to do it, but that was my first time on stage. That was 1956, and it was a Johnny Cash song.
That's great.
Big River, yeah.
So I want to ask a kind of philosophical question. I mean, everybody likes to feel like their work, what they do, has meaning and purpose. And when you think about what you do, what do you feel like you're giving the world? What do you take pride in your work?
None. It has no purpose. None. I'm just telling jokes, dude. I tell jokes for a living. I get away with murder every day of my life. But it does make you feel good when people come up after a show saying, hey, I've had a really hard time and I really needed that. Or my mom's going through this. Or we were all in town because such and such is so-and-so's in the hospital. And they told us, hey, Henry Cho's in town. I'll buy you all tickets, go take a break. And they came to the show. And then they come to the meet and greet, and they tell me these stories. So, yeah, those things are fabulous, but I'm not arrogant enough to think what I do means a hill of beans to anybody on any given day. That's just me.
I was working in Branson, and I was selling merchandise. And a guy walked up to me. He took his hand out, he put something in my hand and closed my hand over it and said, I haven't laughed, the first time I've laughed in 3 years since my wife died. And he took off. And I opened up my hand, it was his Marine Corps ring. Oh my. So I've carried that ring with me all these years, thinking maybe he's going to come back and get it back again. It's always in my pocket when I go out on stage. But things like that, people come up and say, I haven't laughed since my wife passed away, or my dad, or my grandfather, or I lost a son, I lost a daughter. And things like that, it makes it all worthwhile. I mean, and especially today, the way things are, people really, really need to laugh, okay? Really need to laugh. Yeah, that's all I know.
No, laughter is the best medicine. It releases endorphins, it lowers your blood pressure, it does all that. So, yeah, people come to the show, you laugh, you're going to have a good time. But, there are people out there working many, many hours a day to do a lot of good. I'm just telling jokes, man.
I'm curious, Henry, are your kids fans of yours? Will they laugh at your routines?
If they want anything, yes. My kids are innately funny. Jay Leno thinks it's hereditary. I think it might be. Like a Major League Baseball player's son has a 7 times greater chance of playing pro ball. Leno's always sworn it was, for someone with no kids, he swears it's hereditary. I think osmosis, mainly, when your dad has never said anything serious in his life, in their lives. My kids always go for the joke. Have impeccable timing. They're brutal. If you come to our house for dinner, you show a weakness, they're going to pounce. And they're really good. They're really good. So yeah, my kids, they know how to be funny. They know how to laugh, and they also know that it's my job. I'm just dad, but I don't say anything serious to them ever. I mean, I dropped out of college to do this, and then it skips a generation. So my kids are brilliant.
Yeah, I think about the people that really appreciate what we do. It's like I'm sitting here right now with you guys, and I've totally lost my train of thought, and I've got to think of something to say. So
You want a guitar? You need to read your guitar?
So I'll do one of the first jokes that Steve Martin and I ever wrote, which was, female impersonators are great on dates because they can change tires.
God, wish you
Still
could do.
forgot what I was
God,
gonna say.
wish you could do that nowadays.
But I was talking about...
But you got to call them something else.
You were saying something that really reminded me of what I needed to say next, and this time it just...
I was talking about my kids and how they innately find
That's
Jay
it.
Leno.
I've got it. I'm back. You walk into, I don't care if I'm in Safeway, if I'm at Walmart, if I'm at Walgreens, whatever I am, kids with their parents, they don't see me. They've got that stare. It's boom, boom, boom. There's a different breed of kids backstage at the Opry every weekend or every week. They're a whole different kind. They connect. I don't care if they're this big or this big. What if they're 4, or if they're 10, 12, whatever. It's a whole other experience back there with kids, and I love it. And I come off, and they want to talk to you about stuff, and they laugh. They love watching you, and they liked it. They love what they saw, and even before they see me, they're different. They're just a different breed. I don't know how to explain it, but the backstage kids are cool.
Yep.
At the Opry.
They engage.
Really are.
They engage with you.
Yeah.
They're not. It's not awkward.
No, they're not. They're amazing.
Yeah. You're not some creepy guy in Safeway.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about backstage kids, are these kids related to staff of the Opry, musicians?
They're
of the
well, I'm
Opry?
talking about the acts that have come on. They've got their nephews, their kids, their daughters, their sons. You know, maybe their cousins out here, and the cousins got their kids there. They're all connected to the acts. It's what they are. They're
Yeah.
connected.
And some of the staff will have people there visiting.
And the
from out of
staff
town.
will have people there
Hanging
too.
around.
Yes.
But we don't pay attention to the staff.
Yeah. We have tours all the time.
They're all right there. We're just.
People come through with tours all the time, which is great because they stop and talk at every dressing room. If you're there early, you stop and you wave, you say hi to that, and you say, there's a guide, and you say, make a joke, like people that have followed that moment have never seen again, things like that. But that didn't work very well, did it? Anyway.
It works great though when you're doing
But it works.
there.
You
with
have to
that.
be there.
Yeah.
But no, there's just a different kind of feeling backstage with families. That's what it is. It's a family thing, and it's a big family.
Well, I mean, people who are part of the Opry, people who perform in the Opry, are always saying the entire operation, it's a family. The performers, the staff, the
From
musicians.
the time you pull up and whoever's the security guard at the gate opens it up, it's always, welcome, Henry. So glad you're here. Can't wait to listen to you.
Yeah.
I mean, boom. You come in, Jim's at the desk, bring you, hey, can you sign that for us? All the performers are signing. You walk in, and then there's the staff. They're always there, all welcoming. Just, I can't think, out of the 100+ times I've been there, I've never not been thanked for being there.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
That's right. I feel bad if I forget an usher's name. Honest to God. I mean, the ladies that are the ushers, the guys, the men and the women out there that are doing the ushers, or that they're at the concession stands or whatever. And it's just like, they're just, I'm going on and on about this, but it's just really such a special place. And I suggest you get a guitar and some jokes. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah,
You want
unless you're
experience-
green from the south.
Yeah.
Well, we've really enjoyed having you guys here. Do you have any final thoughts, anything you want to share with these folks before we wrap up?
I'll let you go last. Yo, hey,
Go ahead.
so I'm going to go.
Go ahead.
That would mean you go after me.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where I made a mistake before. Go ahead.
That's it.
All right.
So this is about the Opry and the comedy tradition. It actually says that, right? Opry's comedy tradition. The fact that, and I'll speak for Gary also, that we are even considered part of the Opry, part of the tradition. It's still mind-boggling to me. I got asked that the other day. You know, what's it like being a member of the Opry? And I said, I can't tell you. I still don't have words. So it's just an iconic institution, and to be able to walk in those doors and see my name like that up there, it's unbelievable.
And that's what same thing with me. It's like, yeah, we got invited by Marty Stewart. We got inducted by Vince Gill. Does it get any better than that? I don't think so. No. God bless you all.
Yeah, thanks for coming, and
Thank you both. We really appreciate it.